Motivation is a liar. It shows up late, leaves early, and never texts you back when you need it most. You already know this. You've waited for it before. You've told yourself, once I feel ready, I'll start. And what happened? Nothing. Because you were waiting for a feeling instead of following a rule. The Stoics didn't live by emotion. They lived by code. They didn't ask, do I feel like doing this today? They asked, is this the right thing to do, regardless of how I feel? That one shift? That's where the real power begins. Because if you only move when you're inspired, you'll be inconsistent, weak, and dependent on conditions. But if you move from principle, from a rule so locked in it overrides emotion, then you become what Marcus Aurelius described, a mind trained to command itself. That's the Stoic edge. Not hype, not caffeine-fueled willpower, but daily alignment with your values, even when your mood disagrees. Motivation fades, rules remain. And the people who win, the ones who build something that actually lasts, aren't those who feel like it. They're the ones who follow their code, whether or not the feeling ever shows up. So what's the rule? Act according to your principles, not your feelings. That's it. Simple to say, hard to live. Because most people confuse emotion with truth. They wake up tired and think it means they need rest. They feel unmotivated and think it means they shouldn't start. They feel overwhelmed and think it's a sign to wait for clarity. But the Stoic knows, my feelings are feedback, not instructions. You feel resistance? Good. Move anyway. You feel fear? Welcome it. Then do the task in front of you. Because in the Stoic system, feelings don't get veto power. Virtue does. You don't act because it's easy. You act because it's right. You don't wait for the mood to line up. You line yourself up with your mission. This is what builds internal weight. The kind of character that doesn't need reminders, doesn't need external validation, doesn't chase comfort, just shows up. Shows up when it's boring, when it's painful, when it's raining, when the excuses are louder than usual, but your rule is louder still. That's how you stop being ruled by motivation and start becoming someone who rules themselves. You want to live by this rule? Then stop asking your feelings for permission. You don't wake up and say, am I in the mood? You say, what's required of me today, and how will I meet it with dignity? That one question recenters your life. Because now, you're not waiting for ideal conditions. You're not asking your tiredness, your anxiety, your doubts if you're allowed to show up. You've already decided. The workout happens. The deep work happens. The boundaries stay in place. The progress is made, no matter how I feel. That's what separates a Stoic practitioner from the average person. They don't seek motivation. They build momentum. They don't get addicted to high energy. They get addicted to showing up. And if this message is landing deep, it means you're ready to shift. To stop chasing short bursts of hype and start training long-range clarity. So don't just watch this and scroll on. Subscribe, not to consume, to commit. To reminders that keep you grounded when the mind wants comfort. To principles that cut through the noise when your day starts messy. To a system that builds consistency, because discipline, not motivation, wins wars. And if you're here for that, welcome to your code. When you start living by the rule, you notice something strange. You stop needing to feel ready. You stop waiting for inspiration. You just move, quietly, deliberately, with a rhythm that doesn't break when you're tired, or ignored, or misunderstood. That's when you start building something very few people have. Trust in yourself. Not the kind that says, I know I'm amazing, but the kind that says, even if I'm tired, even if I'm doubting, I still show up. That's power. Not because you feel invincible, but because you've proven to yourself, day after day, that you can execute without hype. And people will start to notice. They'll say you're disciplined. They'll say you have strong willpower. But you'll know the truth. You're not special. You just stopped depending on feelings. You replaced uncertainty with a rule. You replaced should I with I do. Now your identity isn't built on moods. It's built on moves. That's what makes you dangerous. You don't wait to feel strong. You act strong and let the feeling catch up later. And the more you do this, the clearer your mind gets. The quieter the excuses become. The less room doubt has to speak. Because now you don't ask your body for permission. You lead it. When you live by a rule instead of a feeling, you stop fearing failure. Because failure no longer defines you. You didn't move because it was guaranteed to work. You moved because it was aligned with your standard. That's a different kind of confidence. Not loud, not hyped, just anchored. You tried. You gave full effort. You didn't flinch. And whether it worked or not, you won. Because you showed up when most people wait. You finished when others quit. You moved forward when the energy was gone. That's not mindset. That's identity. You become someone the world can't predict. Because you're not operating on its currency. Not on likes. Not on praise. Not even on results. You're powered by something stronger. Personal code. And here's the beauty in that. If motivation fails you today, you still move. If people disappoint you today, you still move. If you doubt yourself today, you still move. Because you've stopped asking, do I feel like it? And you've started declaring, this is who I am. That's stoicism in action. That's freedom. Not the kind that waits for everything to feel right, but the kind that moves anyway. Now you see it clearly. You don't need more motivation. You need a non-negotiable standard, because motivation is emotion, and emotions lie. They say later. They say you're not ready. They say wait for the perfect moment. But a Stoic doesn't wait. A Stoic moves, not recklessly, not frantically, but on code. That's what separates you from 95% of people. They need energy to get started. You need alignment. They need hype. You need a rule. And once that rule is locked in, you stop being fragile. You stop stalling every time things feel off. You stop losing days to overthinking and comfort. Instead, you stack wins, quietly, steadily, relentlessly, because you've realized the hard truth. You're not always going to feel like doing the work, but if you only do it when you feel like it, you'll never build anything that lasts. So now ask yourself, how much of your life have you already lost, just because you kept waiting for a mood to give you permission to move?